I amicably ended my relationship with Amelia, the revered princess of Beijing's elite society. Shortly after, she rekindled her connection with her first love after many years apart. In my capacity as her substitute, I tearfully agreed to a breakup settlement of 40 million yuan and discreetly stepped back. It seemed very honorable, didn't it? So why, just after we split, did she begin relentlessly pursuing me, even making life-threatening remarks? I promise, I wasn't at fault. All I did was embark on a blind date and seek a new relationship. Was that truly such a significant issue? Wait, Vincente, you're heading out on a blind date at a high-end Western restaurant and your date hasn't shown up yet. I found myself sitting alone in an upscale Western eatery, waiting for my blind date who was yet to arrive. Seated across from me was Justin, the owner of the restaurant and a close friend. He looked at me with surprise. "Who are you meeting?" he inquired. "The granddaughter of an old friend of my grandfather," I responded nonchalantly, swirling ice in my whiskey glass. He specifically requested that I meet her before he passed away to see if we were compatible. Justin nodded, hesitated for a moment, and then leaned in to whisper, "What about Amelia? You were so fond of her. After 4 years together, you're okay with ending it so casually?" "Casually," I replied with a faint smile, taking a sip of my drink. The breakup settlement was 40 million yuan, which isn't exactly light. "That's the only decency she had left," Justin commented, shaking his head and letting out an indignant sigh. His expression then turned awkward as he rubbed his nose. "Vincente, I'm sorry, I didn't retrieve your belongings from Amelia's place," he said. I paused, confused. "What do you mean, I didn't get them back?" After we broke up, I immediately returned to the countryside to handle my grandfather's funeral. I just came back to City A yesterday. I had to rely on you to help pack my things. Since I accepted the breakup fee, it was only courteous to clear out and give her space. Justin rubbed his forehead, looking genuinely troubled. It was terrifying. When I went to pack your things yesterday, Amelia wasn't at the office. She was at home, just sitting on the sofa, staring at me without saying a word. It freaked me out. When I was about to leave with the suitcase, she suddenly said, "Justin, you have nice hands. How about I chop them off?" I almost lost control. That definitely sounded like something Amelia would say. The Liu family held absolute power in Beijing, and if the Liu princess wanted to harm someone, it would be done swiftly. But this didn't seem like something she would actually carry out. We had a respectful and dignified breakup with everything clearly settled. Why would she tamper with my belongings without reason? Justin looked at me and whispered, "I don't think she genuinely wants to break up with you." I shook my head. "That's impossible. Everyone in our circle knows about me and Amelia. Years ago, Amelia's first love, Peter, left her to pursue his dreams. Not only did he reject her advances, but he also left the country without saying goodbye. Amelia was devastated for a long time. I couldn't do much except stay by her side, silently supporting her. I never expected anything in return. But then, on Christmas morning 4 years ago, when I gave Amelia a cup of honey water to help with her hangover as usual, she suddenly looked at me and asked, "Vincente, do you like me?" I blushed immediately, shaking my head and stammering, Yes, but don't worry, I don't expect." She said, "Let's be together." Those 4 words changed everything. For 4 years, I replaced Peter, wholeheartedly caring for Amelia. Although she remained distant towards me, she publicly acknowledged me as her boyfriend. Everyone in our circle said I was the most successful stand-in ever. I believed we would spend our lives together. But then, on our 4-year anniversary, Peter returned. With just one sentence, "Amelia, I miss you." He took her straight to the airport. That day, I was at home decorating with balloons, preparing to propose to Amelia. In the end, I didn't get to see her. All I received was a 40 million yuan breakup compensation, her first love returned, and she couldn't wait to leave me. How could she not want to break up? I shrugged, feigning relaxation. All I hope now is that in this big city, I never encounter those two again. Justin nodded in agreement. "Yeah, everyone in the circle knows about your relationship. Running into them again would be too awkward." My eyes narrowed as I glanced over Justin's shoulder and saw Amelia walking through the restaurant door. She paused briefly before approaching me. I couldn't help but sigh. "Justin, Your words really do have a way of making things happen. I chose to have my blind date at Justin's restaurant for 3 main reasons. First, it's close to the main branch of my hot pot restaurant. Second, it's near where the lady I'm meeting resides. Third, Justin and his wife started from scratch and aren't part of Amelia's circle, so the chances of running into someone we know here are slim. Who could have predicted this? Justin gave an awkward smile, his voice lacking confidence. As we spoke, Amelia had already arrived at the table. She didn't say a word, just raised an eyebrow at Justin, who quickly abandoned me like a chicken with its head cut off. Tisk, this big guy is so scared. Is Amelia really that intimidating? I raised an eyebrow, poured a glass of whiskey, and gave a calm smile to Amelia, who sat across from me. Miss Lou, care to join me? It had been over 10 days since we broke up. Seeing her again, I was surprisingly calm. Amelia didn't move. Her delicate, bright eyes were fixed on me. With such an extraordinarily beautiful face, the pressure she exuded was overwhelming even without words. This might be what they call the aura of someone in power. I tightened my grip on the glass, but my smile remained unchanged. After half a minute of silence, Amelia finally smiled, raised an eyebrow, and picked up the whiskey glass. She held it but didn't drink, her gaze probing. "When did you return?" "Yesterday," I replied with a smile. "After all, I have a business to run. Unlike the great Miss Lou, I can't afford to waste time." Amelia nodded, her expression relaxing slightly. "Here to see Justin?" I paused, about to respond, when a stunningly beautiful woman with a cold and elegant demeanor, dressed in a white chiffon blouse and a black pencil skirt, stood in front of the table. She glanced at me and Amelia, a flash of hesitation in her bright eyes. Her voice was gentle as water. "Vincente?" I answered. "It's me. Are you Angelica?" Angelica nodded and then looked at Amelia. "Did I come early, or did you arrange another blind date?" As soon as she asked, Amelia's face immediately darkened. "You're here for a blind date?" "Yes, I'm here for a blind date." I smiled slightly. "So, shall I not see you off, Miss Lou?" Amelia glanced at me, her brow furrowing even more, but she didn't stand up. Instead, her gaze shifted to Angelica, her eyes darkening. "Miss Lou." I lowered my tone, issuing a second polite invitation for her to leave. The way she scrutinized my guest was quite rude. "Why the rush?" Amelia raised an eyebrow, staring at me with a dark look that I couldn't quite decipher. Suddenly, she smirked and let out a light scoff. "After all, we've shared a bed for 4 years. How about I check out your new partner for you?" I couldn't help but clench my fists. "Amelia, how much more do you intend to hurt me?" "No need to trouble yourself, Miss Lou." I smiled, lifting my head to look at Amelia, though my heart felt cold. My grandfather chose this person for me. His judgment won't be wrong. Amelia's eyes narrowed slightly, fixing me with a probing gaze, but she said nothing. The sudden ringing of a phone broke the tension. Amelia frowned, took out her phone, and her expression immediately softened. "Amelia, aren't you here yet?" The deep, magnetic voice was clear enough for even me to hear. "Peter," Amelia's gaze swept across my face, her eyes darkening. "I'm here downstairs." "Yes, I ran into a friend, exchanged a few words, and now I'm coming up." "A friend? Just exchanging a few words." I smiled, my fist clenched so tightly that my nails dug into my palms, pain shooting straight to my heart. Amelia hung up the phone, stood up calmly, and smoothed her dress. "Please continue. I won't disturb you." I watched her as she walked upstairs, a dull ache in my chest. Angelica, however, sat down across from me with a serene expression, her delicate features softening into a smile. "So, Mr. Shu, it's my turn now." My emotions instantly pulled back as I looked at Angelica, somewhat surprised. "Miss Jiang, you still want to continue?" Angelica slightly curled her red lips, her expression extremely natural. "Why wouldn't I want to continue? First of all, I have judgment, and I can see what's going on here. I don't think Mr. Shu did anything wrong. Secondly, I have a normal perspective on life, so I don't care if a man has had other women before. Lastly, aside from the blind date, I have another matter I need you to take responsibility for, Mr. Shu." For a moment, I didn't quite register what I had just heard. I looked at her in shock. Responsibility? A wealthy young lady asking me to take responsibility for what? I swear I don't even know her. Angelica's lips pressed together, and she suddenly said, "I have a dog that eats skewers." My brain felt like it was about to short circuit. What? Angelica took out her phone and placed it in front of me. I looked down in confusion, and with just one glance, I was dumbfounded. It was surveillance footage from a streetlight's perspective. The timestamp was from the night Amelia and I broke up. The 40 million yuan check was lying on the ground. I was clutching a bottle of wine, sitting on the curb outside my hot pot restaurant, crying like a dog. Next to me was an actual dog sneaking bites of the skewers I had packed from the restaurant. "Little dog, why are you wandering around when you have a tag? Were you abandoned too? Damn it, so was I. These skewers are cold, don't eat them. See that restaurant? I own it. Come here tomorrow at the same time. Okay, we'll be brothers in misery, and I'll treat you to good food every day." In the video, the drunken me was holding the dog's left ear, rambling on and on. Outside the video, I was so embarrassed I wanted to dig a hole and bury myself in it. The surveillance was clear, and my dog Max had indeed returned the next night. He waited outside the hot pot restaurant all night. "But Mr. Shu, you didn't show up?" After hearing Angelica's words, my expression froze. Because the next day I received a call about my grandfather's critical condition and went back to the countryside. Angelica locked the phone screen, looked up at me with a faint gaze, thought for a moment, and added, "Since that night, my Max has truly understood the cruelty of the human heart, and he's been depressed at home ever since. I tricked a dog into becoming reclusive. This guilt is too heavy to bear. I'll treat him, I must treat him. Let's go buy skewers now and get the best dog food. I'll go apologize to Max." Angelica slightly pursed her lips, then pulled up her WeChat QR code and placed it in front of me. Clearly, my trustworthiness in her eyes wasn't very high. I quickly took out my phone and scanned her contact information. Seeing the cute golden retriever in her profile picture, I covered my face. "Miss Jiang, don't worry, I'll take responsibility." Angelica pursed her lips again, not saying anything one way or the other. "Let's go!" I quickly got up to follow her. But just as I took a step, I heard the sound of high heels clicking from upstairs. Almost instinctively, I looked up at the second-floor staircase. Amelia was standing there, her gaze deep as she looked at me. Behind her stood a few young ladies who always looked down on me. During my 4 years with Amelia, these women never thought much of me. I was about to leave when a man in a custom-tailored black suit with an elegant demeanor walked down from upstairs. I frowned and looked at Justin, who was standing at the bar, frozen like a statue. Why is Peter here too? Seeing Peter, Justin's face changed, and he quickly shook his head at me, mouthing exaggeratedly, "I didn't know Peter." Upon seeing me, Peter perked up, as if completely unaware that Amelia and I had been together for 4 years. He greeted me with great enthusiasm. "Vincente, you're here too. Long time no see." I forced a smile and nodded. "Hope you've been well." Peter pointed at the group behind him, looking helpless. "I just returned to the country, and Amelia and her friends insisted on throwing me a welcome party here." I didn't really want to come, but then Amelia insisted on opening a hot pot restaurant on this street for me, so I came to check out the new location. After saying that, Peter turned around and intimately wrapped his arm around Amelia's waist. Then he looked at me. "I remember you're in the hot pot business too, right? So now we'll be in the same industry. Why don't you come help me check out the place?" "He's getting into the hot pot business too?" I quickly raised my eyebrows and looked at Amelia. Actually, competition within the same industry is quite normal. If it were someone else, I wouldn't feel any particular way about it. But Peter's family owns a massive empire worth billions, so why on earth would they need to open a hot pot restaurant? My family used to be one of the top families in Beijing's elite circle, but my parents passed away early and unexpectedly. Back then, I was just a clueless kid, and all the family assets were divided among the shareholders and uncles. All that was left for me was a nearly bankrupt hot pot chain. Amelia witnessed firsthand how I gritted my teeth and endured countless hardships to finally support this business. I refuse to believe she doesn't understand the impact Peter opening a hot pot restaurant on this street would have on me. As Amelia's gaze swept over me and Angelica, she remained silent for a few seconds before saying blandly, "Don't be petty. Helping Peter won't do you any harm." "Hey, sure, no harm indeed. Peter discards a woman, then says he wants her back and I'm supposed to hand her over? Now he wants to encroach on my market share and I'm supposed to smile and help him? Where does he get the nerve? Vincente, why don't you come along? Peter asked sincerely, inviting me once again. I turned my head, sneering, just about to respond. He's busy, not available. Angelica, who had been quietly standing by, suddenly spoke up, surprising everyone. All eyes turned to her in astonishment, but her expression remained unchanged. Her delicate brows arched slightly as she smiled at Amelia. He's coming to my place. Then she tilted her head playfully, sticking out her tongue at me. Didn't you say you'd take responsibility for me? Let's go, shall we? Taking responsibility. The way she phrased it was quite subtle. I cast a grateful glance at Angelica and smiled. Let's go. Going home with someone you just met, Vincente? Do you have no shame? Amelia's words came almost immediately. Everyone present was taken aback by her remark. I frowned, feeling a surge of anger. And you, holding on to your current boyfriend while managing your ex? Do you have any shame? Shouldn't you be focused on helping Peter with his hot pot business? Why do you care where I go? To clarify, Miss Lou. Unexpectedly, Angelica, who had already reached the door, turned back and smiled at Amelia, her eyebrows slightly raised. Vincente and I didn't just meet. We have quite a history together. Hearing this, Amelia's expression suddenly froze, but Angelica turned around, wrapped her arm around mine, and started walking toward the door. The close contact made her fragrance linger near my nose. Half of my body felt numb from her touch, and my mind was buzzing. Her words were odd, but honestly, she wasn't wrong. But it wasn't me who opened the door. It was Angelica. She stood in front of me, her expression defiant as she stared down Amelia outside the door. Does Miss Lou need something? Amelia's expression was dark, her delicate fists clenched tightly, but she didn't acknowledge Angelica. Instead, her angry eyes focused on me. You have time to spend 5 hours at her place, but no time to pick up your own things? I was at a loss for words. Is one night really that critical, Miss Lou? Amelia, I responded. Peter's staying at my place tonight. Her gaze fixed on me as she spoke calmly. I don't want him to feel uncomfortable seeing your things. Also, I don't want you to accuse me of holding onto your belongings later and making a mess of things. It's best if you take them yourself, once and for all. The wound in my heart was silently torn open, bleeding profusely. Unconsciously, I tightened my grip on the door handle and gave a cold, bitter smile. Fine, I'll go get them now. This was the first time I sat in Amelia's car without wanting to say a single word to her. Resting my head against the seat, I closed my eyes to relax. Do you like her? Surprisingly, Amelia was the one to break the silence. I frowned and opened my eyes, meeting her watery gaze in the rearview mirror. After a 3-second pause, I nodded. Yes, she's pretty good. Huh, pretty good. It seems like you've been doing quite well these past few days, she said. I thought maybe you would. I raised an eyebrow. Would what? Nothing. Amelia smiled, turning her gaze back to the road and saying nothing more. Justin had packed all my belongings. 2 large suitcases sat next to the dining table in the living room. Amelia sat at the table, calmly sipping water as she watched me, saying nothing. I had no intention of staying any longer in this familiar yet strange place. It was too painful. I grabbed the suitcase handles and turned to leave. But suddenly, my wrist was grabbed tightly. Vincente, weren't you madly in love with me before? Amelia looked up, staring into my eyes with her usual superiority. And now, after just a few days, you've moved on. You can be so calm and collected while being with another woman. Do you even believe that yourself? In an instant, anger flared up inside me. Amelia's mocking way of talking about how I couldn't let go of her was far more humiliating than when she gave me the breakup fee. Does she have no idea how I treated her these past 4 years? Just because I loved her doesn't mean I deserve this kind of humiliation. I forcefully pulled my hand away, my gaze icy. Does it matter if I've moved on? What matters is that I've been a proper ex and haven't bothered you. But Miss Lou, what's your deal today? First time I've heard that Miss Lou keeps her lovers on retainer and provides after-sales service. Could it be that now it's almost over and you suddenly realized you can't bear to let me go? Amelia continued to stare at me, a strange emotion flickering in her eyes. After 3 seconds of silence, she suddenly spoke. "What if I say yes?" My spine stiffened, and for a moment I doubted whether I'd heard her correctly. Did Amelia really just say that? Amelia stood up from her chair and suddenly wrapped her arms around my waist, resting her cheek against my chest. She sighed. "Vincente, if this is some kind of tactic of yours, then congratulations. You've won. Come back to me. Let's continue together." She finished her words and stood on her tiptoes, gently kissing my lips. "These days, haven't you missed me?" "I've been missing you a bit." Amelia's body was soft, and she looked at me with sultry eyes. The atmosphere was highly suggestive, but I couldn't care less about that right now. All I wanted to know was whether Peter, who was a real person, was still standing there while Amelia said those words. "Wait, what about Peter?" Amelia narrowed her eyes and spoke with certainty. "I'll find a place for you. He'll never know." "I want both of you." A string in my mind snapped abruptly. I forcefully pushed Amelia away, barely stopping myself from hitting her. "Where do you get the audacity to think I'd be willing to be your side guy? Does Amelia even see me as a person? How deeply must I have loved her for her to have such confidence?" "Vincente," Amelia didn't move, staring at me with a cold smile in her voice. "There's a limit to how much you can play hard to get. This is your one chance. If you walk out that door today, don't think about coming back." I turned back to glare at Amelia's darkened face, sneering coldly. "Hold on tight to your Peter and move on. If we meet again in this lifetime, it'll only be at the crematorium." After that day, I never saw Amelia again. After all, she's a high and mighty lady. Rejecting her so harshly, it's a wonder she didn't come after me for payback. But how could she possibly come looking for me again? Although Amelia didn't show up, Peter's Hot Pot restaurant did have a grand opening. The location was strategically chosen, just one street away from mine. To celebrate the opening, they offered a 70% discount for an entire month, burning money to attract customers. All the Hot Pot restaurants on the street were struggling to survive. I managed to hang in there since I still had the 40 million yuan to back me up, so the losses weren't too bad. But even so, Peter's restaurant still stole 30% of my customers. What can you do? When you're up against a big player with deep pockets who burns money for fun, what can you do? I don't even know how long my savings will last. Squatting on the curb outside my restaurant, I stroked Max's head. Looking into his big round eyes, I clicked my tongue. Gently tugging on his ear, I pointed to the financial report in my hand. "Come on, Max, give me some analysis. What else can we do to make money besides price and flavor?" "Woof." Max suddenly perked up, barking twice toward the end of the street. I looked up in confusion, only to see Angelica walking toward me in a beige dress and high heels. Her tall figure paired with her stunning looks made her a walking masterpiece. "Doctor, you're off early today?" I greeted her naturally. Since the blind date, Angelica and I had grown quite close, mainly because of Max. Her work as a doctor was unpredictable, so she left Max in my care most of the time. Pets aren't allowed inside the Hot Pot restaurant, so I set up a little umbrella outside for Max to stay under, guarding the entrance. "Not many surgeries today," Angelica smiled, pulling a lollipop from her pocket and offering it to me. "Something sweet to lift your spirits." I shook my head. "No thanks. I'm not much of a candy guy." Angelica raised an eyebrow slightly, unwrapped the lollipop, and held it up to my mouth. "When I say eat, you eat. Open up." I froze for a moment, feeling oddly flustered. Just as I was about to reach out and take it myself, the leash in my hand was yanked suddenly. Caught off guard, I stumbled forward. Thankfully, Angelica reacted quickly, squatting down to catch me, preventing me from face-planting. But I ended up holding her in my arms. Thump, thump. Angelica's soft body leaned into mine. My heart rate skyrocketed. My face flushed. I quickly let go and stood up, flashing her an embarrassed smile. "Wow, thanks for saving me. Otherwise, my handsome face would have been done for." Angelica stood up with me, but her expression was peculiar. She leaned in close to my ear and whispered, "Mr. Shu, your heart was racing just now. Were you falling for me? Since I saved you, shouldn't you repay me with your affection?" Angelica's breath was warm against my ear, and her fragrance made my thoughts a bit chaotic. My eyes widened slightly. Wait, is she implying what I think she's implying? Is Angelica interested in me? This is bold. She's making the first move. Woof, woof, woof. Max's barking came just in time to save me. I glanced over and saw him baring his teeth at a customer who had just left my restaurant, blocking their path. Oh no. I quickly ran over and grabbed his leash. Max, they've paid. They've paid already? They can go? Don't block the way. Max growled softly in his throat, but after a few seconds, he finally stepped aside. I hurriedly apologized to the customer and made sure they left without any more trouble. As I looked up, I caught sight of Peter walking across the street from my restaurant. His expression was grim, as if he had just had an argument with someone. How strange. He's supposed to be the big winner in life, with both love and career going well, yet he looks so down. Well, it's none of my business. I crouched down and hugged Max's head, letting out a sigh of relief. Thanks for saving me, Max. Otherwise, I really wouldn't have known how to respond to Angelica. What I didn't expect was this. That same evening, Angelica, Max, and I ended up trending on social media. Earlier in the day, a popular vlogger with millions of followers happened to be live streaming at my restaurant. They found it amusing when they saw me sitting on the curb, asking Max to help me with the financial report, and they aimed the camera at us. Then they captured the entire interaction between Angelica and me, along with Max's antics, live on stream. #watchdog #boss analyzes financials beautiful coupleship pure love drama brave beautiful doctor and handsome Ines and restaurateur totally shippable. Several hashtags quickly climbed the trending list. The phone rang around 2 a.m. I was deep asleep, head buried under the covers, and groggily answered, "Who's this?" There was silence on the other end. I waited a few seconds, frowning, my voice growing more annoyed. "Hello? Speak up. Who is this? If you don't say anything, I'm hanging up." "Vincente, who gave you the nerve to actually be with her? Do you want to die?" Amelia's voice came through the receiver. The next second, I hung up the phone, rolled over, and went back to sleep. Just before drifting off, I muttered, "Witch in my dreams, how scary." The viral explosion of that video was beyond anything I could have imagined. People started flocking to my hot pot restaurant, and it quickly became a trendy spot. Every day, there was a long line stretching out the door. In just a few days, the 30% of customers that Peter had stolen from me came back tenfold, thanks to Angelica and Max. So, as I was closing the restaurant one evening, Peter showed up smiling as he congratulated me. "Congratulations, Vincente! Your restaurant is really popular." I looked up and smiled, but didn't respond, cutting straight to the point. "What do you want?" It was closing time and I wanted him to leave, not sit around. The smile on Peter's face faded. No longer pretending to be friendly, he looked at me with arrogance and coldness. "Vincente, name your price." I was taken aback. "You want to buy my restaurant? Not just that." Peter's gaze was heavy as he looked at me. "I want you to disappear from City A completely." I gestured to the waitress cleaning up nearby, signaling that she could go home. Then I looked back at Peter, my tone dripping with disdain. "What kind of nonsense is this? Beijing is a big city. As long as you two stay away from me, I think we can avoid each other for the rest of our lives." Peter let out a cold laugh, his eyes full of arrogance and contempt. "Vincente, don't think that just because you're cozying up to Angelica, you and your shabby restaurant can break into the upper-class circle. Do you even know her background? Even if you wanted to marry into her family, they would never accept someone from a small-time hot pot business like yours. So here's some advice. Don't be ungrateful. While your restaurant still has some value, and before I decide to completely ruin you, take the money and get lost." As harsh as his words were, I had to admit Peter's thinking was pretty clear, albeit unexpectedly so. Honestly, my hot pot restaurant is quite profitable, and I'm not short on money. But in Beijing's elite circles, it's nothing impressive. In terms of matching up to Angelica, I really don't. But what I don't understand is this, Peter, I just don't get it. When I was with Amelia, you two weren't even together. You chose to leave her. When you came back, I walked away without a word. I didn't fight, didn't cause any trouble, didn't offend you. So why are you so determined to target me? After I asked my question, a flicker of anger flashed across Peter's face. He then let out a cold snort. "Amelia may be blinded, but I'm not. It's obvious she still has feelings for you. If I don't act now, am I supposed to wait for you to come back and replace me? Peter spoke angrily, still maintaining his arrogant demeanor. But I could tell that he wasn't doing too well. Since I came back, she hasn't let me touch her, and she keeps staring at her phone, lost in thought. A few days ago, I tried to kiss her, and she instinctively said, "Vincente, stop fooling around." What kind of person do you think you are? Do you think you're worthy of competing with me? Even if I said I didn't want her, what makes you think you could pick her up? And I don't know what's wrong with Angelica's eyes to be dumb enough to fall for someone as dirty as you, not as dirty as your mouth. Angelica's voice came from the doorway. Both Peter and I were stunned, watching her as she walked over and stood in front of me, shielding me. At least Vincente lives with integrity, loving and hating with all his heart. Unlike some people who have skin as thick as a city wall, you gave her up and now you shamelessly come crawling back. You said you went abroad to chase your dreams, but in reality, you failed and got sent back, didn't you? From my angle, I couldn't see Angelica's expression, but I could clearly see that Peter's face had gone pale. Just as I was marveling at the power of her words, Angelica suddenly turned to me with a mischievous smile on her face. "Don't worry, my family doesn't have mouths as filthy as his. When we choose a son-in-law, we look at character and how we feel about the person." She paused and nodded towards Max at the door. "Our dog does too." Me. That kind of sounded like an insult. By the time I closed the shop, it was already late at night. The neighborhood was quiet, with fallen leaves rustling silently underfoot. Angelica and I walked side by side, taking Max for a walk as we headed home. "Sorry, Miss Jung, I keep bothering you by borrowing Max." "It's nothing," Angelica replied, smiling as she looked at Max. "He's grown up now. It's time for him to work and support the family." I chuckled along, hesitating for a few seconds before speaking up. "And about the online rumors about us? I'm sorry. For a young woman like her to be the subject of gossip like this must be damaging to her reputation." Angelica stopped in her tracks. Under the streetlight, her eyes sparkled as she stepped closer, hooking her arm around my neck. Her red lips were inches from my face, her big eyes blinking playfully. "Is that an apology? I thought it would be a reply, Mr. Vincente. I'm so beautiful. Don't you find me attractive?" Here we go again. Even though I knew I wasn't in love with Angelica yet, this woman handpicked by my grandfather was incredibly alluring. Who could resist a stunning beauty like her when she's being so forward? I instantly tensed up, my toes curling in my shoes. I quickly disentangled myself and pointed to the entrance of my building behind me. I'm home. Good night." With that, I turned and dashed into the building, practically fleeing. Angelica's laughter echoed behind me. "Vincente, you're too adorable." Even as I exited the elevator, my face was still flushed. I took a deep breath, silently scolding myself. "Vincente, how old are you? Haven't you seen a beautiful woman or been in love before?" "It's just a woman confessing to you. Why are you getting so nervous?" I slapped my cheeks lightly, trying to regain composure, but as I looked up and took a step forward, I nearly jumped out of my skin at the sight of someone standing at my door. It was Amelia, whom I hadn't seen in over a month. "Looks like you've been having a good time these days." Amelia's face was cold as she stepped toward me. The sound of her high heels clicking on the floor echoed loudly in the quiet night. Instinctively, I took a step back. I couldn't help it. This version of Amelia was a bit intimidating. But as soon as I stepped back, it was as if I had provoked her. She suddenly took a big stride forward and threw herself into my arms. "Vincente, hold me. Kiss me. I really missed you." Our lips collided, tangled together with the taste of alcohol. My heart sank and I quickly pushed her away. "Amelia, what are you doing?" Amelia staggered back a few steps, leaning against the wall, drunkenly staring at me. Her eyes were full of hurt. "Are you really with her?" I frowned and opened my mouth to speak, but before I could, Amelia continued forcefully. "Break up with her! Come back to me, let's start over!" Then, as if something inside her broke, her shoulders slumped and her voice softened. "Vincente, you've really won! You've completely won! I really can't stand seeing you with someone else. The day you took your things, I thought I wouldn't care if you left. But for over a month now, all I can think about is you. Nothing feels right without you. The thought of you being with Angelica makes me want to drag you back right now." If she had said these words at any point during the past 4 years, I would have been moved to tears and completely devoted to her. If Amelia had shown this kind of sincere remorse just a month earlier, she wouldn't have needed to ask. I would have offered her my heart. But it's too late. Far too late. I shook my head gently, taking the opportunity to push her away and turn toward my apartment. Sorry, but what does this have to do with me? Go back to Peter and focus on your life together. Stop dwelling on things that don't matter. I unlocked the door with my fingerprint, and the lock beeped as it opened. As I gently pulled the door open, a desperate voice called out from behind me. I broke up with him. Is that good enough? My eyes widened, and for a moment I couldn't believe what I had just heard. What do you mean? Is that good enough? As if I had been forcing her into anything. If I had the power to make her do something, would I have been humiliated like that before? Amelia took a few steps toward me, but ultimately stopped short. Maybe it was the alcohol, but her voice was unusually filled with confusion and surrender. I've spent this time trying to convince myself that I've always loved Peter. I thought I was supposed to love him. But something's not right. Nothing feels right. I can't even stand him touching me. I stepped inside, my emotions surprisingly calm. Amelia, it doesn't matter anymore. Who you love has nothing to do with me. I really don't care. As long as you don't love me, that's all that matters. Then tell me. Amelia's voice grew frantic, like a child denied a treat. What do I have to do to get you back? I tightened my grip on the door handle, not turning around. You might want to call the police. I didn't expect it, but Amelia didn't call the police. I did. Because something happened at my restaurant. Over a dozen customers fell ill with food poisoning after eating at my hot pot restaurant and were hospitalized. Someone anonymously reported that there were serious food safety issues at my restaurant. At the same time, the story of how I replaced Peter and simped for Amelia was... Wait, so Peter never even accepted Amelia's confession? How is that stealing someone? He didn't want her. She had been cherished by someone else for 4 years, and then he had the nerve to come back and try to claim her. My God, Vincente really got the short end of the stick. After all that effort to win his girlfriend, she gets taken away just like that. This is infuriating. Is Amelia blind? Oh my God. I work at a wedding planning company and can confirm that the day Peter returned, Vincente had decorated the villa to propose to Amelia. As soon as that comment appeared, it caused a massive uproar. People began tagging Amelia sarcastically, reminding her, "You missed out on such a heartfelt proposal. You missed out on someone who loved you so much. So Amelia, do you regret it now?" And the most shocking part was that Amelia actually replied, "Yes, I deeply regret it. I'm trying to make amends and win him back." When Angelica saw that comment, I was sitting in my hospital bed eating an apple. She suddenly turned to look at me, catching me off guard. What? What is it? Am I not allowed to eat apples? Angelica shook her head, but her expression remained somber and her voice quiet. You can eat it. Oh, I nodded skeptically, taking a small bite. If... Angelica suddenly spoke again, making me pause mid-bite. Asterisk cuff. Asterisk. I cleared my throat, thoroughly confused. If what? Nothing. Angelica shook her head again. I was just thinking that if you're really stupid enough to go back to her, I'll set my dog on you. Me. I eventually understood what Angelica meant. That very night, Amelia showed up in my hospital room. She was beautifully dressed, her eyes shining. Vincente, I know everything now. I was completely stunned. What? What do you know? Before I could react further, Amelia reached into her pocket and pulled out a red velvet box. Don't open it, I blurted out instinctively. Amelia's delicate fingers froze, and she looked up at me with tears welling in her eyes. Why, I already know you were planning to propose to me that day. We were supposed to get married, Vincente. I'm ready to marry you now. You loved me so much before. You were so good to me. You haven't truly given up on me, have you? As she spoke, her eyes filled with hope. Vincente, I regret breaking up with you. I was wrong. I've broken up with Peter. I won't waver again. Come back to me. Let's start over. Okay. No. I shook my head and quietly took the ring box from her hand. I held it, turning it over like a walnut. Yes, it's true. I was planning to propose to you that day, but Amelia, you missed your chance. Amelia's eyes darkened. She shook her head stubbornly. No, you love me, Vincente. You've loved me for so many years. How could you give up on me so easily? We haven't missed our chance. If you come back, we can start over, can't we? Our eyes locked, and the determination and deep affection in Amelia's gaze were unmistakable. For a moment, I felt an odd certainty, as if there was no mistake. This time, she truly wouldn't give up on me, and there was a sense that if I refused her, she wouldn't stop until one of us was broken. I pressed my lips together, unsure of what to say. Just as I was about to speak, I caught a glimpse of a shadow outside the door, a person and a dog passing by. All right, I'll give you a chance. I smiled and nodded. Then, under Amelia's hopeful gaze, I casually tossed the ring box out the window. If you find that ring, I'll start over with you. Amelia's eyes trembled as she stared at me. Then she nodded solemnly. All right. On the day I was discharged, Angelica arrived with Max. I stood by the window in my hospital room, quietly watching Amelia search the garden below. After several days, she found the ring box, but the ring inside was still missing. Who knows if it was lost or taken by someone? If she finds it, are you really going to get back together with her? Angelica appeared beside me, her expression dark and her tone sour. Max stood proudly by her side, looking ready to attack if I dared to say yes. I couldn't help but laugh. Of course. Angelica's face darkened instantly. I grinned mischievously and pulled a man's ring from my pocket. But that's only if she actually finds it. Since Amelia wasn't willing to give up, I had to handle it myself. She needed to experience the feeling of working so hard, almost reaching the light, only to be plunged into deep despair. I had once given her my heart. She caught it but didn't cherish it. Instead, she casually tossed it aside and even stomped on it. So why should I forgive her just because she realized she was wrong? Tisk! Angelica clicked her tongue and shook her head, but the smile on her lips was hard to hide. Mr. Shu, you're quite ruthless. So bad, but I like it. By the way, Mr. Shu, can I get an answer now? About our blind date. Do you want to take it further? I raised an eyebrow and tilted my head, not responding immediately. Instead, I crouched down to pat Max's head, laughing. Max, what do you think? Woof.